but I hear the voices say, "Carry on, my wayward son." That's my new anthem for real. I just found it. One of the clients I was checking out at work, she had a bag on that was from that show Supernatural. Honestly, I'd really like to review that show because I've studied the occult just online and just through my own digging. Um, but to see the show now, I know there are so many terms, so many occult words that are in that show or like names of characters that like the general populace, uh, you know, want to bat their eye at. They want to think twice about it, right? But I know like what Abraxas is. You've heard of Abraxas? Hold up. I'm pretty sure that's in that show. Abraxas. Darksiders. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it wasn't in Supernatural. Abraxas Supernatural. Yeah, no, it is. A sadistic black-eyed demon loyal to Lucifer. Weird. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I should watch that show. You know what really got me into this occult studying? Back in 2020, I actually started watching the show Lucifer, which is a fantastic show. It shows this man or angel, demon, whatever Lucifer is, um, and it shows his struggle between legality and morality. It's an amazing show. I love shows like this where there's like a tag along with a cop and it shows this balance between morality and legality. I think that's super cool. It's about law, it's about tradition, conservatism, fundamentals, what laws do we follow type of deal. What is morality? One of these books I got by Nietzsche um, is called Beyond Good and Evil, because for real, like morality is something that's made up, technically, right? Maybe it is built into this social contract. How we define God does determine what good is and like what law is. Oh yeah, is God good because he follows the law, or is the law good because God created it? There's that starts with an E. There's a paradox or a thing about that, because what came first, the chicken or the egg? What is goodness? Does it come from the laws first, or did it come from God first? It's so interesting. Um, but it's all made up for real. It's good for us to follow something. But then which one do we follow? Look, information hazard right here. I'm gonna give you a part of my testimony here. Um, of course, I grew up in the dirty South Bible Belt. I heard the name of Jesus, but I never went to church like that consistently. Uh, so then, I graduate high school, I drop out of college, and I'm like, what should I really be studying? What do I really want to learn? And then I saw quote James 1:8 said about the double-minded. You have to make a decision. Do not be lukewarm. Make a decision. Don't be on the fence. Um, so, I took that challenge and I dove into water. Shoot, and I'm treading. Not quite walking on it, but I'm trying to control this chaos. So, if this book is read by so many people, that's what I should do with my life, right? It feels so important. Like I have to commit myself to it. Um, I have to face it. I can't go through my whole life without understanding it. I've heard the word, but then I grew up 20 years without actually knowing it. So to come to it myself it's amazing because, no one forced their hand or it's real. God called out to me. I was called. And, Jesus brings you to the Father. That's the thing, right? We evangelize the name of the Son, but not many people know the name of the Father. And this is where I am a heretic and take all this with a grain of salt. But I find this to be the truth, because I speak English. I, was born to English parents. The Bible was written in Old Testament was Hebrew, New Testament was Greek. These people were not speaking English. So I take it all with a grain of salt. What is the truth? Um, what was their mother tongue? What is the name of God? How do you spell it? What letters do you use? Those are great questions to ask. What is the word? If God is the word, what is God's mother tongue? What is the language? I mean, come on, basic line of question. I think that's so. Then you start to study the Hebrew, you start to study the Old Testament, and it is fascinating. It is so rich in layered history. This isn't what they teach you in high school. That's not in the curriculum. They're not teaching you the tradition of the Jews. They want you to be the populace, the cattle. They want you to, you know, just don't question it. Just be a sheep in the herd, type of shit. But I'm trying to be a shepherd. I'm trying to guide some folk. So maybe I'm that black sheep right now. I'm going against the current. But I find this to be the truth, even if it may seem blasphemous or heretical to some. I find it undeniable. All right. Study it yourself. Like, try to find the oldest biblical material. One thing that I still haven't, I'm still on the fence about, unfortunately, because I just don't know what's older. I don't have proof. I want scientific, physical evidence, right? It's very hard for me to believe, right, in miracles. Formal logic is my faith, type of deal. But then there's Pascal's wager, right? So I do believe, and I love this story. I do have an affinity for it. But the Judaism is more occult, and it is so rich and so fascinating. I just don't know which is better. I mean, it's the seed and the fruit. Judaism and Christianity. The Bible, the Old Testament and New Testament is so amazing, like prophecy and fulfillment. So maybe I am kind of Judeo-Christian, but maybe I'm non-Trinitarian because I do see two different names. I see a Greek or English name of the Son, and I see a Hebrew name for the Father. And I kind of see them as different gods. I mean, they're a little different. I mean, maybe we can connect them in the Trinity, kind of, sort of. Maybe there is this bigger God, and then there is this inner God, and they're connected through the Spirit. That's a whole thing. But if you study the text, it's incredible, just putting everything into place in history. Jesus didn't write anything, but there was so much written about him. And then there were these oral traditions. The Torah was written in Hebrew and it was passed down. And only just recently we found the Dead Sea Scrolls in like 1960s, and that's some of the oldest biblical texts we found. That's crazy that this is still happening, these discoveries. But if it's which came first, or like which is better, which is more true, is Judaism better? Is the seed better than the fruit? I'm not sure. But then, when a fruit dies, then there's more seeds. This diaspora, oh, it's so good. It's just written so well. They're nomads. They spread the word. They infiltrated. They've got it everywhere, right? But part of this thing, the Old Testament is supposedly BC, these Hebrew words. And there is something so incredible, bro, about Genesis 1:1 in its original language. Absolutely astonishing. Like, I can't even put it into words, man. If you're able to understand Genesis 1:1 and break it down into its original language, numerical values, symbolic, incredible. It is so fascinating. I wonder how it was made. Genesis 1:1. But did Jesus write that? I don't know that. I thought he spoke a different language or something. I don't think he was writing the Hebrew. But what came first? Because this Jesus story is so fascinating to me, the crucifix and resurrection, all that. But Genesis 1:1 is incredible, bro. The Hebrew language is so, dude, it's just like divine. It's such a piece of art. Like, it's so layered. A through Z, Aleph through Tab, you know? It's amazing. But the issue for me is the oldest Genesis 1:1 is not BC, which is very curious. Because then I have to question fabrication and things like that. I don't know, man. I wish I could just transfer this to you, but it may take years of studying. And, I just want to show people the path that I've taken and what I've discovered. Because it's been valuable to me. I mean, it's been life changing. I love it. Life altering. Maybe ignorance is bliss, though. Like, this information could be hazardous. That's why I decide to study it, because I know I got some mental fortitude. I can take this. I go crazy so y'all don't have to.